Welcome back to another edition of our Monday Blitz. I am so glad you are here with me today as we continue exploring the book of Matthew. As we continue in this study of Matthew, I pray that you are also taking time to read on your own and find wonderful gems of truth and meaning for your life as God speaks to you through this searching of this gospel. As we continue, we're looking at Matthew chapter 8. And this is a bridge chapter in our English translations where we're leaving the Sermon of the Mount and going into some of the actions and living out of the Sermon on the Mount that Matthew shares. And I think this one is very powerful because Matthew is continuing to focus on his efforts to explain to the Jews that Jesus is the Messiah, that Jesus is God, and that this kingdom of heaven that is brought forth is not anything like any of the kingdoms of this earth. In fact, if we are searching for a kingdom of this earth, Matthew is actually suggesting that the kingdom of heaven won't even appeal to us. It's running on a completely different plan. And so this is a powerful reminder, even for us today, as we are searching the world for answers, that truly those answers are not found in the world, but only through God. And so Matthew covers this, and he begins by drawing some interesting pictures of what it would mean to be that Christian Jew, or even for today, for us just as Christians. What does that look like for us? It's helpful to look back in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus actually, Matthew says, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. And then Matthew starts describing what Jesus' concept of that actually looks like. There in Matthew chapter 8, there are these three stories that lead out in the chapter. Three short, very concise stories. The first one, Jesus encounters a leper who in the Jewish system was defined as unclean, and if you were to even touch a leper, you would be unclean and have to go through a ceremonial purification process. And Matthew tells how Jesus reaches out and touches the leper and heals him. But we know that Jesus didn't have to touch him, that leper, to heal him, and yet Jesus chooses to touch him. The second story follows that there's this faithful centurion, a non-Jew. We don't know what nationality, where he's from, but we know he's not a Jew. And yet Jesus points out how great of faith, greater than most of the Jews, is this faith that is described. Wow, what a powerful, uncomfortable perhaps even for us to read of this person who doesn't even seem to believe in God, yet he has faith in the power of God to heal. The power is in Jesus. God becoming man and living among us. And he heals because of the faith of a Gentile. And then the third one is combined. There's two stories combined. One is that Peter's mother-in-law is healed. And then following it in just very passing kind of statement, Matthew goes, and then that evening after Peter's mother-in-law has been healed, it says that there are all of these demon-possessed who come and the demons are cast out. Now, these three stories are beautiful stories, wonderful miracles, and we may miss the powerful statement here. I know I've missed it many times, but as I was reading it, it reminded me this time as I was looking at it. These were three areas where a Jew would have ran from the situation. They would have avoided the contact rather than offering healing. In fact, for even the disciples, this would have been, all three of these were very uncomfortable interactions that Jesus chooses to have in an effort to show what it means to have the righteousness that surpasses that of the Pharisees. There's this picture of love for all humanity that is drawn out in this picture. So it makes me ask myself today, what in my world am I uncomfortable with that would draw me out of my comfort zone to show the righteousness of God, the holiness of God, the love of God to our society around us, to those that are, so to speak, the untouchables, the ones that I would want to avoid, except that Jesus has shown me those are the ones God is calling us to love, to care for. He touches the leper. One of those intimate, caring acts of actually touching someone in love, that gentle touch. Something that leper had probably never felt, or had been years since the last time somebody gently placed their hand on his shoulder. When was the last time that centurion had experienced any sort of love or consideration from the people around him? He was hated. He was a Roman centurion. He worked for Rome. And here, not only was he cared for and an interest placed in his request, but Jesus heals his servant. And then those that are troubled by the pressures of Satan in ways that are extraordinary, do we run from that, or do we embrace the power of God to overcome all of that? I believe God is challenging us to look to see those uncomfortable situations around us, those that we may say are untouchable. How can I show the love of God, His righteousness, His mercy, His never failing salvation for those who need it? For we all need it. So I just ask you, search your heart today. Ask God to point out to you who it is that you are called to love. We'll see you next time.